bringing stats like a kingpin. MMA knowledge meets his nephews all lean in. Breaking down fights, calling stat daddy supreme. On just a tip show, he's cooking up a dream. Uncle Weezy, he the man. Dropping fight facts, got it all on hand. He the stat attack grand. MMA guru, more than just a fan. Wanna know the numbers? Weezy got them cataloged. From the fighters reach down to how many times they dog. Just a tip living, breaking it down slick. Hit you with the knowledge, won't miss a single trick. Uncle Weezy, he the man. Dropping fight facts, got it all on hand. He the stat attack grand. MMA guru, more than just a fan. Balls deep predictions, he be making those calls. Getting in the details, opponents feeling small. From jabs to takedowns, got the whole fight ID. Uncle Weezy spitting truth, no lie, keep it G. Blow the horn, blow the horn. Stat Daddy Weezy not showing no scorn. Fight night kingdom, he wearing the crown. Break it down for the peeps, never looking like a clown.
Oh, yes. What's going on, everybody? It is Friday afternoon. We just had the weigh-ins a couple hours ago for UFC Nashville, which is going to be headlined by Derek the Black Beast Lewis and Taliesin Teixeira. We got 3 heavyweight fights on this card. We got a pretty fun main card here, 12 total fights, and we're looking to stack cash tickets like flapjacks betting on these fights. So come along with me. I'm going to take you through a full card breakdown of this UFC Nashville card. I'm going to give you my dog pick of the week. I'm going to give you Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. And then I'm going to give you a greasy 4-leg parlay with some meat on the bone. And then bring you along with me while we talk to the chat and see what you guys are up to today. This show is brought to you by me, Uncle Weezy, and my phenomenal Odds Shopper probability stats and content package, which gives you access to all of my track bets. It gives you access to my Discord. It gives you access to my stats package that I send out every week for every card, which includes matchup stats, individual fighter stats, an over-under betting model, a prop betting model. You're going to know all the divisional benchmarks for all the key statistics across all divisions. And you're going to be able to take into account some really good information that most people just simply don't have access to because they're not a madman like me and they don't spend hours upon hours upon hours programming spreadsheets to calculate, metrics and stats and benchmarks and all these things that I wind up doing behind the scenes while everybody else is out there having fun with their lives. I'm in front of a computer screen, putting in the numbers, making sure that all the stats update, all the benchmarks update. So cheat off of me. I'm the kid in class that you want to be sitting next to when there's a math test, right? And there's going to be a math test every week when we look at trying to find value on these betting lines for these fights. So, if you don't know how to do it on your own, the best way to get that good grade is to cheat. And you could cheat off of me, your Uncle Weezy, because I'm the fucking smart kid in class. So come along with me. Enjoy the money that we're going to make stacking cash tickets like flapjacks, and click that link in the description of the video that's going to take you to my Odds Shopper stats and probability package, $25 a month, and you're going to get access to a flood of content that's going to help make you a better UFC bettor. So I've got the stats ready. I've got my picks ready, and I'm going to take you through a full card breakdown here of this UFC Nashville card, and then we're going to give you the dog pick, the ass shaving of the week, and the greasy 4-leg parlay. And we're going to start with the first fight of the night, Fatima Klein versus Melissa Martinez. And Fatima's a gigantic favorite here at minus 1,400, I believe. Let me just get that number up on the screen. And some of these lines have moved since I inputted them on Wednesday night when I did my full card breakdown, balls deep breakdowns, which is only visible if you are supporting my work on the Odds Shopper. I do about 4 to 4.5 hours of content every week that's behind a paywall. That's a lot more involved than what you're going to get here on YouTube for free. So, yeah, when we broke down this fight, this is a striker in Melissa Martinez who comes from a karate base. She is a point fighter. She is going to stick and move. She's going to move laterally around the outside of the cage. She's going to be a very difficult target to find. And she's got good long-range weapons, which makes it hard to engage with her on the feet. So Fatima's going to have to track her down because Melissa's not going to stand in front of her. But there's a massive grappling difference between these two ladies. And while Melissa probably is making some improvements, she's unable to make them in the cage because she's an extremely inactive fighter. She's fought twice since the beginning of 2020. So Melissa is still young. She still has the opportunity to be improving, but I'm not even sure her striking is that much better than Fatima Klein's. But Fatima Klein's grappling game is on a completely different level than Melissa Martinez's. So I think it's just a matter of time before Fatima closes the distance here, gets a hold of Melissa, drags her to the floor. And then once that happens, I think it's going to be very difficult for Melissa to get back up without giving up her neck, without potentially allowing Fatima to pass to a dominant position where she can rain down ground and pound or set up a submission and finish this fight. So I do think that Fatima is going to win. And, because it's minus 1,400, in order to look that, you need to get a finish. You can't win a 29-28 unanimous decision as a minus 1,400 favorite and feel like you're going to have that hype going into the next fight. So I'm looking for a Fatima Klein finish here, and I think it's going to happen by second round knockout. The next fight, we got Mike Beast Boy Davis going up against Mitch Ramirez. This is a wild fight here because we got a gigantic line on Davis. He's sitting around minus 1,000 here. And yeah, he's coming off a loss, you guys. He's coming off a loss where he looked awful against Fares Siam. He didn't look healthy. And that's always been the problem with Mike Davis. It's not the athletic ability. It's not the boxing. It's not the cardio. It's not his wrestling. It's not his Brazilian jiu-jitsu. It's the fact that he doesn't enjoy fighting, and his body never seems to hold up and be healthy enough for him to get out there and fight consistently. He's trying to fight more consistently now, but we've seen what Mike Davis looks like when he's trying to make 8-month turnarounds instead of 2-year turnarounds. It's not the same guy. So I think probably the worst bet on the card this week is a Mike Davis money line bet, because I think that there's a pretty good chance that he shows up compromised in one way or another here, and that we might hear some excuses after the fight that talk about why he performed the way that he did. But the thing about Davis is when you break down this fight and you watch the tape on both of these guys, that Mike Davis is better than Mitch Ramirez everywhere, So I don't think Mike Davis is minus 1,000 here. I think he's more like minus 200, minus 300, which isn't a huge difference in implied probability. At minus 200, he'd be 67%. At minus 300, he'd be 75% implied to win. At minus 1,000, he's 91% implied to win. But I don't think he's going to run through Mitch Ramirez. I think Mitch Ramirez is pretty good everywhere, and he's a little bit different than Mike in that, Mike doesn't want to be there. Mike doesn't enjoy fighting, while Mitch Ramirez, I think, he kind of needs to fight, so that he doesn't wind up in dark places in his life. So when you see Mitch fight, he's smiling in there. He's having a good time. That's where he wants to be. He's at home in that octagon, and we're going to see how Mike Davis comes out and looks here. But one of my favorite bets of the week this week is the over 1.5 rounds for this fight, because Mike Davis isn't much of a early round finisher, especially not at this level. And Mitch Ramirez is a very tough dude that's going to be tough to get out of there. And while he was finished by Thiago Moises, he was finished by Carlos Prates. Both of those guys, I think, are a lot more dangerous right now than Mike Davis is at this point in his career. So I'm picking Mike Davis, but I'm picking him this one to go over 1.5 rounds and Mike Davis to win it by decision. The next fight is one that I think should be on the main card here. I don't know why Tafa and Tokkos are up near the main card. I don't know why Petrino versus Lane is on the main card, because these guys are two heavyweights with very bright futures in this organization. And Kennedy's been here a while, but this is his third fight up at the heavyweight division. Walter Walker is only 27 years old, and he's compiled a 2-1 UFC record thus far, and he's on a 2-win streak, or a 2-fight win streak coming into this fight. But I think this is going to be Kennedy. I like Kennedy to win this fight. The thing is about Walker, we've seen some improvements over the last 2 fights, but we're seeing improvements over guys like Junior Tafa, who's a 205er, guys like Don'Tale Mayes, who maybe has one of the worst ground games to ever be in the UFC, a guy who's been heel hooked by nobodies twice. Well, I mean, Cyril Gane isn't a nobody, but he's terrible on the mat. So if you're getting heel hooked by kickboxers like Cyril Gane, if you're getting taken down and held down by bums like Hamdi Abdelwahab, you're not a good fighter. And so Walter Walker's taking a gigantic step up in competition here. And if he doesn't get his wrestling game going, he is going to get boxed up on the feet badly. Guy's really bad with his striking. And the conditioning is always going to be a little bit of a question mark for Walter, just because this guy, he's huge for the division, and he's going to be wrestling offensively a lot. And offensive wrestling, when you're trying to take down heavyweights, is exhausting. So, you have to really manage your cardio the higher you get in weight class. So it's going to be difficult for Walter to push a grappling heavy pace at this level, especially somebody that's going to have some resistance, unlike Tafa, unlike Don'Tale Mayes, who, these guys fold like a lawn chair every time someone tries to take them down. Kennedy's going to be a different deal here. So I think Kennedy is going to weather the early storm, make it difficult for Walter to get that offensive grappling game going. And once Walter starts to slow down, I think Kennedy's going to find a finish in the second or third round here. I'm going with Kennedy to win this one by third round KO. The next fight is going to be Lucky Lauren Murphy at plus 425, going up against Eduardo Moura. Moura is a massive minus 600 favorite in this spot, and Lauren Murphy will be retiring after this fight. She's turning 42 at the end of this month. So, yeah, Lauren's on her way out. She's had a really good UFC career. She put together a nice winning streak that earned her a title shot against Valentina Shevchenko. So she's gotten almost as high as you can get in the women's flyweight division. And she's going to be looking to go out on a win here against an up-and-coming prospect in Eduardo Moura, who's 31 years old, who's known for her grappling, her top control, her ground and pound. Striking is okay. It's a little bit low volume, though. I mean, like, Eduardo Moura doesn't throw a lot of volume. She's got a little bit of pop in her punches, but I don't really recognize her as somebody that we have to worry about winning minutes consistently at the UFC level at distance striking range. So while I favor Moura because I think she's going to be able to keep these distance striking exchanges close, I do think that she's going to be able to win the minutes and the moments in the grappling exchanges of this fight if she gets her offensive wrestling game going. However, if that doesn't happen, Lauren will be keeping this fight very close because Eduardo Moura is not going to run away with minutes or moments on the feet against anybody in this division. So Lauren should be able to keep the distance striking exchanges close, and she should be able to be very good in the clinch here against Moura as well. We just saw 2 fights ago for Lauren. Now, I know it was over 3 years ago, but you got a former bantamweight in Misha Tate moving down, trying to wrestle Lauren Murphy unsuccessfully. Now, here in Moura, you have a former strawweight weight bully who has shown now up at 125 that she really needs those takedowns in order to look like a favorite. So while I'm picking Moura to win this fight by decision, I do believe that Lauren Murphy can keep this very close. I think Lauren Murphy's money line isn't a bad look this week. I don't think Lauren Murphy plus 3.5 points handicap, I think that's probably going to cash this week. But it was a much better price earlier in the week, so I wouldn't play it at like plus 130. The next fight that we're going to talk about, Jake Matthews versus Chidi Njokuani. Both of these guys were late to the scale, and I was going with Chidi by decision. That's gonna remain my official pick here, but I think one of my favorite bets for this fight would be the fight doesn't go to decision. Chidi's got a ton of finishing upside against anybody in the welterweight division because of his size, because of his clinch game, and because of the power in his strikes, while Matthews is only 30 years old, and he's got a ton of UFC experience, and he's known for being very durable. He's only been knocked out once as a professional, and it was a result of positional ground and pound in the Kevin Lee fight. He's been submitted 3 times, and if he does go to the offensive grappling here, I could see Chidi potentially trying to put him in a front choke or 2, and Chidi's submission prop is plus 2,000, plus 3,000 in some spots. So I think Chidi's submission prop could be like a cheeky, a long shot prop to play this week, because I think Jake, if he fights smart, is going to avoid distance striking exchanges against Chidi Njokuani. You don't want to be there against this guy. And the way that Jake has to crash the pocket, putting together his combinations to get into boxing range, I think that if he's not careful about how he does that, he's going to wind up in the clinch with Jake. He's going to wind up in the clinch with Chidi, and that's just an awful place to be. So I do think that Chidi's going to win this fight. I don't see a lot of wrestling upside for Jake Matthews. He's trying to take down a former middleweight here that's just absolutely huge. So, I think Chidi's going to get the job done here. Fight doesn't go to decision is not a bad look this week, according to my over-under betting model. I'll give you guys a peek at that here. Especially with the weight miss, on the Njokuani side, and then Jake coming late to the scale. Both of these guys might be a little bit compromised here. And for fight doesn't go, you're getting plus 135. That's a 42.5% implied probability. The divisional benchmark for the welterweight division sitting around 51%. So we're getting about an 8% break there on price. And then when you look at Njokuani, 5 of 8 fights finishing inside the distance at the UFC level. Matthews, it's 11 of 21. So 16 of 29, or 55% of their combined UFC fights have finished inside the distance. And we're only paying 42% on the betting line at plus 135. So, and also, my model does like Chidi Njokuani inside the distance is a trifecta bet at plus 270. And Jake Matthews inside the distance is a trifecta bet at plus 400. So if you've got a side here that you like, play that Matthews inside the distance or play that Njokuani inside the distance. And then if you're kind of like me and you're a little bit more agnostic about who's going to win the fight, you could play that fight doesn't go to decision. And I think that there's some pretty good value in those numbers right now. All right, let's move on to the next fight. Chris Curtis versus Max Griffin. We got a 37-year-old Chris Curtis dropping down to 170 for the first time in a long time, going up against a 39-year-old Max Payne Griffin, who might be retiring very soon. I don't know if this is his retirement fight. I don't know if he has additional fights left on his contract after this, but he's a 39-year-old welterweight. He's on the back nine of his career. It's coming close to an end for both of these guys, but Chris moving down to 170 is showing some dedication. It's showing some additional sacrifice. And Chris has always been a guy that's going to show up to fight no matter who he's fighting and when and where. So Max is somebody that I just don't have a lot of faith in him winning minutes or moments with his distance striking at this point in his career. I think when Max really had a nice resurgence was when he started wrestling about 4 or 5 years ago. He was getting some takedowns in fights and really showing a well-rounded skill set. And now he kind of just looks to land the big shot. And when you do that, you're going to lose minutes while waiting to look to set up that big shot. And Chris Curtis is going to throw more volume here. He throws a lot more volume on offense than Max Griffin has historically. I think he's the faster boxer. I think he's much better defensively. And I think he hits harder. So I think Chris Curtis by decision, because Max has been so historically durable, is probably the most likely outcome for this fight. But I could really see a Chris Curtis finish here as well, especially if Max Griffin is kind of like, rolling towards that retirement really fast here, which could be the case. When these guys are 39, 40 years old, they might have been historically durable up to that point, but there comes a point, where your durability just doesn't hold up anymore for most fighters. And this could be one of those situations because Chris is going to be in that pocket looking to land big shots. So I think Chris Curtis by KO at around plus 350 is a pretty good look this week. Next fight, Junior Tafa versus Tokkos. I got Tafa winning here by second round knockout. I think Junior's going to look pretty good at 205. Tuco's going to wrestle here a little bit, but he's not a great wrestler, and I don't think he has a lot of faith in his ability to be able to push a wrestling-heavy pace at this level. I mean, he was fighting a pure kickboxer in his last match and against Navajo Sterling, and in that fight, he shot 0 takedowns in round 1. So, I mean, like, either the guy's mentally retarded because he doesn't realize where he's better than his opponent, or he just doesn't have the conditioning to be able to wrestle or push that pace for a full 15 minutes, and he knows it, so he tries to strike with a pure striker so that he doesn't get tired trying to take him down. And look, I mean, if you can't take down a guy with 2 years of MMA experience that's a pure kickboxer like Navajo Sterling, I just don't have your faith. I don't have faith that you're going to be able to do it literally to anybody in the division. And while Junior Tafa has some of the worst takedown defense and really some dog shit conditioning as well, if we're being honest, he's no longer fighting heavyweights. He's no longer fighting at a weight class where, you might have a 280-pound guy on top of you on fight night. This is Tokkos, who could not take down and hold down Navajo Sterling, who's, Junior probably has a better grappling game then, just because he's been a mixed martial artist for a lot longer than Sterling has. So yeah, if Tuco can't win minutes with grappling against Navajo Sterling, I don't have the faith that he's going to be able to do it literally against anybody at this level. And if he doesn't have grappling success in this fight, he's going to get outboxed, and that might be a decision. It might be an early knockout. I don't know what's going to happen here, but I do feel like Tokkos is kind of drawing dead here, because I don't think he's going to win minutes or moments on the feet. And I think that his grappling game isn't high level enough in order to win minutes or moments on the ground here either. So I'm going with Justin Tafa to win this fight by second round KO. Next fight, Vitor Petrino versus Austin Lane. Yeah, I mean, we got Petrino a massive favorite here. He's moving up to heavyweight. Going to be interesting to see how he looks up at this weight class. Austin's a lot bigger than him. Austin hits pretty hard, but Austin has 6 professional losses, and they're all by knockout. And he's a former NFL player, and we know that these NFL players that come to the UFC already have brain injuries. They've already got brain injuries, so like they're not going to be able to hold up the durability of most football players. Like you look at somebody like Zach Bauga. You touch that guy once and he's dead on the mat. Austin Lane is the same way. You see these guys that are former football players, and they've taken so many shots over the years that the durability just doesn't appear to be there. And yeah, I mean, if you're not going to be durable against Vitor Petrino, I don't like your chances. I think a sneaky look this week. I played a quarter unit on Vitor Petrino's submission prop at plus 950, because I think if Austin Lane wants to fight smart, he's going to need to protect his chin. And if he protects his chin, he's going to grapple here. So I think if he tries to grapple, he might wind up in some bad spots against somebody like Petrino, who's got some pretty good Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So yeah, I think Petrino KO round 1 is probably the most likely way that this fight plays out. But if Austin Lane does try to grapple offensively, I think for a guy like Petrino, who's inside the distance prop is minus 375, to get his sub prop at plus 950 on Bet Rivers, it shows you that they're telling you basically 100% of Petrino's finish equity is with the KO. But, this is a fight. We don't know if Austin Lane is going to willingly stand and trade with him. And if he doesn't, I think that brings the potential of a Petrino sub up a lot more. But yeah, I think that this is a little bit of a mismatch. Haven't really seen Austin Lane perform well yet at this level against somebody that has a pulse, can grapple their way out of a paper bag. So yeah, I think Petrino gets the job done here. The Fighting Pride of Clarksville, Tennessee, stand up. We got Nate the Train Landwehr plus 235 going up against Morgan Charrière at minus 275. Fight doesn't go to decision here, sitting at plus 110 for this fight. I'm picking Charrière by decision. I think that this is going to be a very close fight. If Charrière beats Nate Landwehr, I'm pretty sure that would be by far the best win of his professional career. He's fighting bums and cage warriors. I think he's being a little bit overrated due to the fact that he's winning against, the really low-level competition that he's fought on the regional scene. And then when you come here to the UFC, he kind of got dominated by Nathaniel Wood. He didn't look confident in that fight. Like when you're fighting somebody like Nathaniel Wood that's been subbed twice, that's been knocked out twice, that's up a weight class when he's really a bantamweight and he's fighting up at featherweight, I don't understand why you sit there and try to point fight with those guys. Why get cute with somebody that's faster than you? Why get cute with somebody that's got better footwork than you? Go hunt the guy down, walk him down, throw strikes, throw some offense, put him on their back foot. And Morgan is so confident in his finishing ability that he forgets that he needs to fill the space with offensive activity, because he's so confident that he's going to go out and find that knockout. He trusts his chin, he trusts his power, and he's got really tricky Brazilian jiu-jitsu as well. So he can finish you on the mat if you make mistakes down there as well. And Nate is somebody who I think his style doesn't really fit somebody like Charrière really, because Charrière is very durable and he's got phenomenal conditioning. I mean, you can see the pace that he fought that Chepe Mariscal fight at, and you know that Nate Landwehr is not going to break this guy in the third round like he broke Ludovic Klein, you know, like he's worn down guys like David Onama. He's got the better wins. I mean, like Morgan Charrier's UFC wins aren't even UFC level. I mean, like Manolo Zucchini, you know, come on. Gabriel Miranda, these guys are not UFC level fighters. And when he does fight UFC level fighters like Mariscal, like Wood, he's 0-2 in those fights. So I think Morgan Charrière at minus 275 is just a terrible bet. Absolutely terrible bet. If you're going to bet that Charrière is going to win this fight, pick him to win inside the distance, because if you look at the stats here, there's something troubling, you know, and I am picking Charrière by decision because Nate's 37 years old, because he's a featherweight at that age. He's on, you know, a 7-month layoff, and he's coming off the worst loss of his career. So, you know, the momentum for Nate is bad, but like he's fighting at home. He's fighting a Frenchman at home, you know. So I think that this is that home field advantage is going to mean something here for Nate. So Morgan is somebody that I think can push a little bit of a pace here, but I think Nate will be doing a little bit more. But Nate's momentum is just something I can't really trust right now. So I'm picking Morgan to win this fight, but minus 275 on Charrière doesn't make a lot of sense because he's been to a decision 16 times, Morgan Charrière, and his record in those decisions is 5 wins, 10 losses, and 1 draw. So he's only won 5 of the 16 decisions that he's been to. And of the 5 decisions that he's won, 4 of them are by split decision. So Morgan just doesn't, he waits. He waits too long. So it's hard to back him here at minus 275. If you're going to back him to finish the fight, because my model says that both of Charrière's wins at the UFC level are inside the distance. 3 of 4 losses for Nate Landwehr in his UFC fights come inside the distance. So I'm showing, you know, a line that's priced at about plus 175 that could potentially be priced juiced at minus 125 just based on how these guys win and lose their fights, you know. Of Morgan Charrière's 20 professional wins, 15 of them come inside the distance. And so, I mean, he really does finish 75% of his wins. And you see that Landwehr gets finished in 75% of his UFC losses. So I feel like if Morgan is going to win this fight and win it decisively and look minus 275, it's a finish that you're chasing there, because if this fight goes the full 3 rounds, is the Frenchman going to get a fair shake in Nashville, Tennessee against somebody from Clarksville, or who the crowd has been going nuts for the entire 3 rounds? Morgan's going to have to win pretty decisively. But I just think that, you know, with Morgan being 7.5 years younger, he's got a lot more momentum coming into this fight, and just, you know, a lot more to fight for at this point. I think that he's going to wind up getting his hand raised here. Next fight is going to be Calvin Kattar versus Steve Garcia. I'm picking Steve Garcia to win this one by first round knockout, but this is kind of a coin flip to me. I'm really not convinced one way or another who's going to win this fight, but here's what I think is going to happen. Steve Garcia and Calvin Kattar are going to meet in the middle, and they're going to swing dicks. This is going to be a bomb fight. This is a great matchmaking for a live card. It's probably not like a pay-per-view main card worthy fight, but right now, Steve Garcia puts on some of the most exciting fights in the featherweight division of the UFC. He's won 5 in a row. He knocked out all 5 of those dudes. And while this is definitely a step up in competition for him on paper, Calvin Kattar has never been a guy that you don't ever have to worry about his wrestling or his offensive grappling. And as a matter of fact, I mean, like, Calvin Kattar is just kind of okay with his striking. I know most people are going to probably tear me up for saying that, but I mean, the numbers don't lie. This guy gets outlanded in most of his strikes, in most of his fights in significant strikes. And people are like, oh, well, it's just because of the Holloway fight. No, it's not. He was getting outlanded in every fight before the Holloway fight. I mean, Calvin Kattar lost a striking match to Renato Moicano. So I always feel like Kattar's striking prowess has been a little bit overrated. But Garcia is a guy who brings absolute chaos to the cage. And I've talked about this stat here, which I think is very important. 8 fights for Steve Garcia at the UFC level, and he's been in the cage, the UFC octagon, about 42 minutes total. But only 6.9 minutes of those 42 minutes have been spent at distance striking range. Everybody tries to offensively grapple Steve Garcia because they don't want to stand in the middle of the cage with this guy and swing. In Steve Garcia's 7 minutes or 6.9 minutes of distance striking time at the UFC, he's landed 6 knockdowns. He's absorbed 5 knockdowns. So we've had 11 total knockdowns in only 7 minutes of distance striking time in his fight. And we've also had 7 total knockouts. Steve Garcia has knocked out all 6 of his UFC wins, and he's been knocked out in 1 of his 2 UFC losses. So other than the Luis Pena fight, which went the full distance and where Luis Pena controlled Steve Garcia for over 14 minutes of that fight, outside of that fight, if a Steve Garcia fight lasts about 30 seconds in the middle of the cage and somebody doesn't get knocked down or knocked out, you're beating the odds. So while the rest of Twitter is out there talking about either the strength of schedule advantages, the experience advantages, the so-called technical kickboxing advantages on the Kattar side, while the other side is saying Steve Garcia, much younger, has a ton more momentum, a lot more to fight for, 2 completely different career trajectories. You got Steve Garcia on a 5-fight win streak. You got Calvin Kattar having lost 5 of his last 6 fights. So the people on the Garcia side are going to be saying, yeah, I'm getting the younger fighter. I'm getting the guy with a lot more power in his strikes. I'm getting a guy with a positive career trajectory. And I'm getting a guy that really is just the best finisher in the division right now in terms of putting together 5 consecutive knockout wins now that Topuria is no longer in this division. So while everybody else is fighting that out, I'm just saying these guys are going to meet in the middle and beat the fuck out of each other. I like violence here. I like the under 1.5 rounds at plus 130-ish. I've got a 1.5 unit bet on that. I think this fight finishes inside the distance and somebody gets knocked out here. I'm picking Steve Garcia, though, to win this fight by first round knockout, but I wouldn't be surprised to see either guy get knocked out and knocked out early. Co-main event, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson against Gabriel Bonfim. I'm going with Bonfim to win by submission because I think that Gabriel is going to fight smart here and look to close the distance and get his arms around Stephen and then just start the grappling exchanges. Whether he gets a takedown, whether he pulls guard, whether he tries to take his back standing, I think Gabriel is going to try to get the grappling going here. But look, I played Stephen Thompson last time out at plus 170 against Joaquin Buckley. And right now I could get Stephen Thompson at plus 350 against Gabriel Bonfim. And there's a ways. I mean, for instance, I think Joaquin Buckley's offensive wrestling is better than Bonfim's. Bonfim's gotten some takedowns, but he's kind of a body lock guy, so he's going to need to close the distance to find those takedowns. And Stephen Thompson is somebody who does a masterful job of managing distance. And when you go back and you watch that Joaquin Buckley fight, you're going to see a situation where Buckley he got takedowns on paper, but he was able to literally do nothing with them. He didn't advance the position. Stephen Thompson got back up every single time. And he landed 0 significant ground strikes with all the ground control time that he wrapped up in that fight. So Bonfim, he's not going to be lucky and have Thompson crashing the pocket on him here. That's not how Thompson works. Thompson makes you pay for crashing the pocket. So while I'm picking Bonfim by submission here, Stephen Thompson's money line at plus 350, that's clearly the play here because Bonfim at minus 450 for a guy who got ran through by Nicholas Dalby. If people are worried about a 42-year-old Stephen Thompson, well, a 40-year-old Nick Dalby just beat Gabriel Bonfim in Brazil. So Gabriel has that quit in him. Both him and his brother have definitely got that quit in them. And Stephen Thompson can be a very tricky stylistic matchup. But Stephen's 42 years old. He's also lost a lot of fights recently. He's, clearly nearing the end of his career, but he's in good shape for somebody his age, and we know what his style is. He's always been the same fighter. So I think that this is going to be interesting because, minus 425, minus 450, minus 500 for Gabriel Bonfim. That's telling me that this guy can wrestle, and his Brazilian jiu-jitsu is phenomenal. I'm not sold on his wrestling, you guys. I mean, look at the wrestlers that Stephen Thompson has fought over his career, So I just think that there are some guys that, like Gabriel Bonfim's wrestling is not as good as Bilal Muhammad's, okay? It's not as good as Gilbert Burns's either. And his jiu-jitsu probably isn't even as good as Gilbert Burns's. So some of these guys that have had success against Thompson, I think Gabriel still needs to prove that he can out-grapple somebody at the level of Stephen Thompson. So, yeah, I'm going with Bonfim by submission, but don't be surprised if I have a one-unit money line bet on Stephen Thompson this week. Which brings us to the main event of the evening. Derek the Black Beast Lewis going up against Taliesin Teixeira. Yeah, and I'm going with Lewis here. I think Taliesin just has a ton to prove. This guy's got 8 total fights as a professional, and his entire MMA career has lasted 16 minutes. And I think that Derek Lewis could beat everybody that Taliesin Teixeira has beat as a professional in one night and maybe all at the same time. So Teixeira has no professional MMA experience, total of 16 minutes. His best win is against Justin Tafa, and there's at least a 50% chance that what knocked out Tafa was a nut shot. He was a minus 150 favorite against Justin Tafa. He gets a win over Justin Tafa, who everybody knows is god-awful. And now all of a sudden, he's a minus 300 favorite against Derek the Black Beast Lewis, a guy with wins over Curtis Blades, Francis Ngannou, Alexander Volkov, a guy with 23 professional wins by KO, a guy with 15 UFC wins by KO. Derek Lewis just got a 3rd-round knockout in his last fight and looked actually really good against a tough opponent in a main event against Rodrigo Nascimento. We don't even know what Taliesin Teixeira looks like in the 3rd minute of a fight. So to make him minus 300, when there's a highlight reel, like Derek Lewis has a highlight reel that lasts longer than Taliesin Teixeira's entire professional MMA career. So this line to me is hilarious. It's hilarious. I mean, if you're betting on Taliesin Teixeira at minus 300 here, you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Now, it might cash. I'm not saying it won't cash. And I'm certainly not saying that Taliesin Teixeira doesn't have a super bright future in the UFC, because he absolutely does. This guy is 6'7". He supposedly has a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. We've just never seen him grapple. There's no tape. There's no, evidence of him grappling at all in any of his professional fights. But this guy has got good power. He seems to have pretty good durability for the division. Phenomenal size and length, which you can't teach. And he looks to be somewhat of a well-rounded fighter. But there are so many unanswered questions about this guy that I think that this line is just absolutely ridiculous. I think Derek Lewis should be the favorite here. So I have a big bet for an underdog. I have a 2-unit money line bet on Derek Lewis at plus 230 here. And I think Derek Lewis round 2 at plus 1,200 on BetRivers Sportsbook. I think that's a really nice long shot prop this week, because we don't know what Taliesin looks like in round 2. And this fight's scheduled for 5 rounds. Guys, Derek Lewis has had several fights scheduled for 5 rounds in his professional career, at least 6, I think. And Taliesin Teixeira has never seen a second round. So we're going to find out tomorrow night who winds up winning this fight. But I think Derek Lewis is my only money line bet thus far on this card, and it's a 2-unit money line bet at him at plus 230. I think he's going to knock this dude's head off on Saturday. So That brings us to the Bootsy Collins Memorial Dogs Are Barking Pick of the Week. I want to thank my guy Dan Levy for having me on this week. Dan just lost his German Shepherd. Oscar passed away. Rest in peace, Oscar. And I also want to thank my guy Clint for having me on the Die Hard MMA podcast this week. And I know that Clint lost his dog Link a while back, and we all miss our dogs, man. And I know Clint does the Link Memorial Dog Pick of the Week, and I know that Dan just lost Oscar. So, we need to find a memorial Dogs Are Barking Pick of the Week. And who better than Derek the Black Beast Lewis? This guy's going to knock out Taliesin Teixeira. He's going to take his shorts off because his balls are hot, and he's going to run around that cage, and he's going to give us a phenomenal post-fight win speech in Memphis, or not in Memphis, Tennessee, in Nashville, Tennessee, to culminate this night and to culminate a really good card in front of an American audience with an American winner in the main event. So the Bootsy Collins Memorial Dogs Are Barking Pick of the Week this week is going to be the Derek Lewis money line at plus 240, which brings us to the last order of business for the full card breakdown. It's Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. Who's going to win and win violently? And I'm not that confident in Bonfim. I like Garcia as a possible option this week because I think he is going to get a first round knockout, but I would be so unsurprised if it were Garcia that was the one that was sleeping. So I'm making an under bet there, my favorite bet. No chance am I picking a Frenchman over a guy from Tennessee. Vitor Petrino is minus 800, so no thanks. I think Tafa's a really good option this week because he's facing a very low-level opponent who hasn't proven that he can win minutes and moments with his wrestling at this level. And if he's unable to do that in this fight, I really think he's going to have problems. And also, I think we're going to see improvements in Junior Tafa's conditioning now that he's had to do the road work to get down to 205. And I also think we're going to see some improvements in his takedown defense and get-up game now that he's no longer trying to stuff takedowns up at the heavyweight division. So I think Tafa's a good option. Curtis is a decent option, but he's minus 300. I think Njokuani could absolutely knock out Jake Matthews. Njokuani's got middleweight power. He's phenomenal in the clinch, and he's got great kicks. Like, he's finished some guys that people didn't think were going to get finished ever. Like Marc-Andre Barrio, had never been finished when Chidi fought him, and Chidi went out there and iced him in like 15 seconds. So I think Chidi could potentially shave some ass, not laying that kind of juice on Moura. I think Nzechukwu is actually a really good option too. But Walter Walker has got a really bright future in this division, so I don't want to pick against him. And then these are two massive favorites. So this week's Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week is going to be a guy that I don't really think is that trustworthy in Junior Tafa, but I'm seeing potential massive improvements from Junior. The move down in weight class was always going to be his natural weight class, was always going to be 205 pounds. Junior has high-level kickboxing here. So he is going to be really good in one place where this fight goes, where Tuco is really not good anywhere. Like I say, you have to prove that you can wrestle at the UFC level if people are going to take you seriously when you're outgunned on the feet. And he hasn't proven that, unfortunately. I mean, Umar Sy took him down immediately and got to his back quickly. And then Tuco was unable to do anything offensively against Navajo Sterling. Like I say, you guys, Navajo has less than 3 years of professional MMA experience, and he comes from a pure kickboxing background. Dude never put on a singlet in his life. He never wrestled, so like it's for Tuco not to be able to wrestle that guy, I just, we're not gonna pretend like he's gonna all of a sudden turn into Jordan Burroughs here. So yeah, I think Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week is gonna be a knockout in round 2 for Junior Tafa against Tuco Tokkos. So let's take you through a real quick greasy 4-leg parlay, which we're gonna do here on Bet Rivers Sportsbook. Leg 1 is we're looking for Fatima Klein to get a finish here, but I think that the fight doesn't go to decision. It's just a way better bet because I do see power in Martinez. Her traditional martial arts striking style allows for some unorthodox attacks and good long-range attacks that do have some power. She knocked out Alice Ardeline in the 3rd round of that fight. A lot of people don't remember that Keith Peterson stopped the fight because he thought it was a cooch kick, but she didn't get kicked in the cooch. It wasn't a cunt punt. It was a kick right to the gut. So that fight should have been stopped, and it should have been a third-round knockout for Melissa Martinez. And Melissa Martinez already has 5 professional wins by KO in her career, or it might even be 6. So that probably should have been the 7th. So I like the fight doesn't go to decision bet, because I think Klein is going to have to chase down Melissa in order to find her. Once she does, I think she gets the top position and she finds a finish. But if she gets a little bit reckless trying to close that distance, I could see Melissa Martinez knocking her out. Melissa Martinez by KO is like plus 1,800, and I don't think it's a bad look this week, but I'm picking this fight doesn't go to decision here because there's definitely levels on the ground here, and we're going to go with that minus 117. Fight doesn't go to decision for Fatima Klein versus Melissa Martinez as leg number 1 of the parlay. Leg number 2 is going to be the over 1.5 rounds in the Mike Davis versus Mitch Ramirez fight. Like I said, I'm worried that Mike Davis is just not going to be the same version of himself here. And even though he's got really good Brazilian jiu-jitsu and really solid wrestling, I mean, this guy couldn't finish Vyacheslav Borshov on the ground. So I just don't think that Mike Davis is like, first of all, I don't think he should be anywhere close to a minus 1250 favorite on the money line. That's silly. Mitch Ramirez is a pretty durable guy. I mean, he got finished by leg kicks against Thiago Moises, but that came in round 3. He got finished by Carlos Prates in their fight, but that was round 2. And let's not compare Mike Davis's striking to Carlos Prates. I mean, Mike Davis got outboxed by Sadiq Youssef several years ago. So I really don't think that Davis is going to be finishing this fight. And I mean, what I think if there is a finish in this fight, it's going to be an injury. So the amount of times I see injuries at this level, I'm just not worried about it. So leg number 2, over 1.5 rounds here, sitting at minus 162. Leg number 3 is going to be Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. It's going to be the Junior Tafa money line here, and that is going to be at minus 175. We just talked about that fight. I don't think Tokkos is UFC level, but I do think that Junior Tafa's striking is UFC level. And because I'm assuming that we're going to see some slight improvement in Tafa's takedown defense and get-up game now that he's at the right weight class and grappling against smaller guys, I think that he's going to win the minutes and moments of this fight at distance striking range, and that we can probably expect some better conditioning from him this time around. So pretty confident that Tafa gets the job done here at minus 175. Leg number 4 is going to be the fight doesn't go to decision for Calvin Kattar versus Steve Garcia. I do think somebody gets served here and served violently. That's minus 195 on BetRivers Sportsbook. That brings our 4-leg parlay up to plus 624 on BetRivers Sportsbook. Once again, Klein Martinez fight doesn't go to decision, minus 117. Over 1.5 rounds from Mike Davis versus Mitch Ramirez at minus 162. The Junior Tafa money line at minus 175 is leg number 3. Leg number 4, fight doesn't go to decision for Kattar versus Garcia at minus 195. Comes out to plus 624 on BetRivers Sportsbook. Let's cash this thing. I see that we got 230 of you hanging out live here with your Uncle Weezy. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up if you haven't already. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, because I think I'm like less than 40 away from 5,000 subscribers, which will be quite a milestone on this channel. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you guys for watching, commenting on the videos. I love interacting with you guys in the comments. Hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe. But what I really, really appreciate is when you take the time to check me out on oddsshopper.com. I don't make shit on YouTube, you guys. I could stop showing up here next week and never do another free video on YouTube. And I promise you, the financial impact would be next to zero. So this YouTube thing, like 5,000 subscribers, that's great. All the watch hours, that's great. But when you work your ass off at something, the number one priority is to get paid for it. And YouTube pays your Uncle Weezy jack fucking shit. So while I appreciate the thumbs up, while I appreciate the comments, while I appreciate the 5,000 subscribers, I don't make a dime for any of that shit. So what I really care about, and if you really care about me and you want to support me and you really do like this work, click that Odds Shopper link, sign up for the $25 a month probability stats and content package. You're going to get matchup stats like this. You're going to get over-under betting models with all the betting lines for all the possible over-under bets. You're going to get benchmarks. You're going to get fighter performance. You're going to get this also for all the prop bets. I mean, everything converted to implied probabilities. We've got all of the prize picks and underdog stats here for these fighters. Prize Picks recently changed their scoring system, and it matches underdogs. So now I have to change the sheet to have this line be underdog and Prize Picks. But either way, you get everything that you could possibly get here. And like I say, if you're worried about supporting me, if you want to do something for me, that's also going to help you get access to a tremendous amount of information. The $25 a month, yeah, it supports me, but you're going to get fight write-ups like this for every fight every week. I mean, that's 5 pages that I wrote out by hand, giving you my pick, giving you my best bets, doing a long summary of all the parts in the fight that I talked up to before that, So like I say, you guys, oddshopper.com, that's where you can support me if you give a fuck about me. And if not, keep showing up for free and freeloading. I'll keep showing up for a short period of time and doing this for you guys. So what's up with you guys in the chat? I hope everybody is doing well out there today. I hope everybody's ready to make some money watching UFC Nashville this week. We got M.A. Laren in the room saying, "Oi, yes." And he's saying, "Tell me, Uncle Weez, how do we enlighten the youth to help the understanding that loudness has nothing to do with confidence, neither in betting nor in anything else?" Yeah, it's always the quiet ones that you got to watch out for because they have that confidence. They don't have to pretend that they're confident, so they don't run their mouths. And yeah, I mean, like when it comes to, usually the ones that are talking the loudest are the ones that don't want to bow up at the end of the day. And somewhat related to that, and per my Twitter DM, what would your opinion on the stats I sent you? 700-ish units risked, 101 in the last 6 months. I'm not quite picking a fight, just seems like a fight, rough 15% ROI. Yeah, I mean, those are incredible numbers. You're talking double-digit ROIs are always phenomenal. If you're putting up 100 units and wins over 6 months, you don't need to watch me. You're doing just fine on your own, dude. Olajuwon Dream in the room saying, "Oi!" We got PGH saying, "My goat." We got Sam saying, "Oi, what's up, fellas?" We got Jacob Cole with the oi, oi, oi. We got Mitchell saying, "Oh, yes." We got my guy Michael in the room. Oh, we got Roger saying, "What's up, guys?" We got Olajuwon Dream with the what up all. We got Trevor saying MMA godly picks in 16 seconds. Let's go, man. And thank God it's Friday, says my guy Olajuwon. We got my guy Moura in here saying, "Oi, we're not giving just a tip with this weekend, Weezy. We're giving the bookies the whole pipe. Let's fucking go. Let's get it." Electric Doll saying, "Oi, let's show these bookies who's boss. Weezy is the boss. Let's go, man." Olajuwon Dream saying, "Give Weezy money now." You're damn right. Give me money now. Click that Odds Shopper link. $25 a month. You get access to the fight write-ups. You get access to the stat sheets. You get access to all my track bets. You get access to my Discord. You get access to 4 to 4.5 hours of subscriber-only content. Full card breakdown called Balls Deep Breakdown. Prop betting show called Propability. I am like the Netflix of MMA. I mean, like, if you pay a certain amount of money for Netflix every month, you'd probably watch me more than you'd watch your Netflix at the end of the day, because you're going to get 4 to 4.5 hours of content every week that there's a fight. So give your Uncle Weezy money now. Big Boy saying, "Melissa Martinez decision at plus 1,400 a donation." If I'm playing Melissa Martinez, I'm not getting cute about the method. I'm just playing the money line because she could win the minutes and moments in the striking in this fight. That's not out of the realm of possibility. And because of the way that she moves around the outside of the octagon, she's kind of a tough girl to track down. So it might be difficult for Fatima to get some takedowns here. So, but I don't think it's, I think it's probably a donation, but it's plus 1,400. How right do you need to be in the long run in order to cash those? And it's not that right. So, but I would just play the money line. Hit the like for my boy Uncle Weezy, says Bradley. We got Blake saying, let's go, Weezy. We got J Flo saying the work that your Uncle Weezy puts in is unmatched. Give him money now. I appreciate you, Flo. Thanks for saying that, bro. We got Wax to Face saying, rest in peace, Super Melly. Yeah, it's a tough matchup for her. We got Benino is watching at work. Let's get some bread, Unc. Let's get it, man. Jacob likes Mitch in this fight. I don't mind it, man. I mean, like, we're going to see how Mike looks. He's minus 1,200 on the money line. It's just absolutely silly. Mitch Ramirez could be the sleeper play of the week, and I love that over 1.5 rounds as well, for sure, man. Olajuwon Dream saying Ramirez plus 3.5 is plus 300 now. My God. Wow. We're going to see, man. We're going to see if Mitch has taken any steps, because that's a big number, man. Aria is in the room saying, I don't only watch this show for predictions. I watch it because I enjoy Uncle talk about MMA. Watching Uncle talk about MMA. Appreciate you, Aria. Thanks for hanging out. We got High Owl in the room saying, oi. We got Lazy Bed saying, Weezy. What is up, dude? We got DJ Serenity now in the room saying, Kennedy Walker is going to be sloppy. It might be. But I think Kennedy's going to get the job done. I think he's going to find a late finish there. I'm getting almost as high as you can get right now. And then you can get lazy on the bed and relax the rest of the day. Serenity now in the room saying Lauren's got to be one of the toughest Denny's waitresses I've ever seen. Yeah, she could probably work at a Denny's late night. She could probably work at a Waffle House late night and hold her own in some of those scraps that happen at those fine establishments. Jacob Cole saying Murphy looked good on the scale. Yeah, I agree. I think she looked ready. We got DJ Serenity now saying, getting the weird sweats yet, Lazy? We got Lazy saying, I can't tell because of the regular sweats, DJ. KM saying, if it ain't the big dog, the top cat of curdled cheese himself. What is up, KM? Good to see you hanging out in here. Forrest Daniel saying, love the show, Uncle Weezy. Excellent breakdowns. Thank you for hanging out. Serenity now saying, lazy. Makes sense. Tough to differentiate. Maybe weird sweat smells different. We got my guy, Barry McCockiner, in the room saying, Chidi didn't even try to cut a half a pound. 5 minutes of cardio could potentially be the case. It was a rough weight cut for him. I don't even know how he gets down to 170 in the first place. Let's stack them, says Mr. D. Let's stack those cash tickets like flapjacks. Blake saying under 2.5 is what I like for this fight. The Olajuwon Dream saying the fight doesn't go to decision. Is it bad that I get Chidi and Kennedy mixed up? Yeah, it is, dude, because they don't look a lot alike. You know, like Chidi's got a fucking narrow ass on him, while Kennedy's got that ass, that high top fade and shit. Njokuani and Nzechukwu, that's where you could get a little bit mixed up with the last names. Easy Dreams. I hope so. DJ Serena, I'm a bit surprised it's plus money. The High Owl saying, I'm surprised, Unc, no Jake dog play. No, I mean, dude, I don't know. I don't know what the people who are on Jake Matthews are seeing, to be honest with you. I think it's a bad play, and it's weird because it feels like I'm missing something, because there's sharp dudes on Jake. I'm not going to mention who they are, but they're fucking sharp. They're doing better than me this year. But I don't like Jake in this spot, man. I've never been really that impressed by Jake. His recent wins are trash. I know people think Francisco Prado is good. Like, Francisco Prado is one of the worst fighters I've ever fucking seen. I mean, he knocked out Atman Azaitar. I'm pretty sure I could do that. And then the other 3 fights, he went out there and he didn't even fight. Took his pants down, took a shit in the middle of the octagon, and didn't throw a punch. So I don't understand what people are seeing in Prado. Like, how is that a good win? I mean, what would fucking Chidi Njokuani do to Prado? What would Chidi Njokuani do to fucking Fialho? What would he do to Darius Flowers? You know, I mean, Matt Semmelsberger is like beating the fuck out of Jake Matthews. And then you see Semmelsberger go out there and get iced in like 30 seconds by Chuck Radke. You know, I just think that Jake's wins are trash. Outside of the Lee Jingling win, I don't think there's one good win on his resume. I mean, like, I don't know who he's bidding. Most of these guys I think like Jake's got like 14 wins. I would be surprised if 3 of those guys were still in the UFC. As a matter of fact, let's have some fun. Let's see who's still in the UFC that Jake Matthews has beat. It'll be a fun little exercise here. So he's got a win over Prado, who should have never been in the UFC in the first place. He's got a win over Rowe, who's still here. Darius Flowers gone. Fialho gone. Diego Sanchez gone. Emil Meek gone. Rostin Akman gone. Shinsho the Animal Anzai gone. Lee Jingling still here. Balikovic gone. Case gone. Areola gone. Racha gone. Deshaun Johnson gone. 14 UFC fights. 14 UFC wins. 3 of these guys are still here. Prado is going to get cut after he loses next week. Rowe's a good fighter, though. Like, Phil Rowe's his best fucking win. And when you go back and watch that fight, Phil Rowe didn't do a goddamn thing in that fight. So I don't know, man. No, definitely no Jake dog play. I think it's a horrible bet. I don't understand what the Jake Matthews backers are seeing this week. But after that weight cut for Chidi, I'm not laying the juice on him either. So, yeah, maybe I talk too much shit about Jake, but like, I just don't see it, man. That's too much for me, Unc. I forgot my abacus. Oh, it's all right, man. It's all right. That's why I say you fucking cheat off of me. You don't need to bring your abacus. You just cheat off the test. I still have 0 bets on this fight. I bet Chris will find something to complain about if he loses. He might. What's the line on that? Lazy said, hope Chris loses and Max does the DX crotch chop to the corner. Yeah, I want a rerun of a couple weeks ago. That would be hilarious, dude. If you guys haven't seen it, there's a clip somewhere on Twitter of Renato Moicano. He does an impression of how Sean Strickland looked when he went into that cage, like the way that he was walking. It was so fucking funny, man. We got Fromage Frog in the room saying, God bless our Uncle Weezy. Love the early afternoon live stream. Appreciate you. Strickland will Karen walk his way into the cage again. Imagine being a grown adult and throwing hands over a crotch chop. Well, that was Sean. He certainly did. He was not happy about that. Jacob Cole saying, I'm only hesitant because Tokkos trains at Kill Cliff. Yeah, well, he trained to Kill Cliff for all the other fights that he looked ass at. So we'll see. But, you know, he's tough. He's fairly well-rounded. He's got a pretty good chin. He's all right. You know, Tokkos has got some good regional scene wins. He's pretty well-rounded. He trains in a good room with some good guys. But I just, you know, I don't see it. I don't see anything about it that's UFC level, you know, so we'll see. Strickland is a walking Freudian slip. He is, man. Fromage, well put. Austin Lane title run starts now. I don't think so, man. Petrino's sub is smart. We'll see if it cashes. I think it's a decent play. You know, sometimes I like to look at, you know, like, how would a fighter change their game plan based on what they've done? And if they were to change their game plan in that way, how do we profit from it? And that was one of those situations where I'm like, yeah, if I'm Austin Lane, I'm fucking trying to grapple because I've been knocked out in all 6 of my losses. So if he does try to grapple to protect his chin, which I think would be smart, we might see Petrino lock up a sub. So we'll see how it goes. Lazy Bed saying Austin Lane to BKFC Ice Wars, where they're allowed to wear helmets. Man, that'd be pretty cool. Helmets, and you're punching dude in the head with that's wearing a helmet with your bare fist. I like that, dude. That's even better than Russian phone booth fighting. Lazy Bed saying interesting part of this one was Petrino coming in heavier than Lane. Yeah, that was weird because Lane's huge. My guy Matt, the Golden Octagon, saying, "Oh, let's get greasy." Good luck to everyone tomorrow. We've got a ton of coin flip fights with blowout lines. I know, dude. It's a weird one, man. These are blown out lines, and I feel like the fights are a lot closer than what the lines are saying. Look at that biceps, says Jacob Cole, and Nate the Train in the UFC, baby. If you don't beat him, he's probably going to win. Yeah, that's for sure, man. We got Greenbat saying, "Oi, I am UC, I am the creator, and this is my house. And in my house, there is only house music. Best fighter to win by knockout. or submission. So by knockout, the bet that I will give you, greenback, is I like fight to end by KO minus 140 something on Bet River Sportsbook for Kattar Garcia. But if I'm just picking the best KO prop on the card, I'm going with Derek Lewis to win by KO at plus 330. And for submission, I have two bets on submission this week. I've got a Kennedy and Nzechukwu submission bet at plus 1100, and I've got that Vitor Petrino submission bet at plus 850. So I'm not saying that they're the most likely guys to win by submission, but I'm saying that those are submission bets that I think have got a lot of value. Rousus, my guy in the room, saying, "Oi, Unc, fighters will be in a bigger octagon in Nashville." Yes, that is correct. Small octagon is only for the Apex. Outside of the Apex, you're going to be in front of a live crowd almost always. And when you're in front of that live crowd, you're going to be in the 30-foot octagon instead of the 25-foot, I think it is. DJ Serenity now saying it'd be hilarious if Morgan won and said, "Look at that bicep." That would be really funny. I think he'd get a lot of fans if he did that in Nashville, man. We got HOHSIS18 saying, "Where can I get access to your model? I can't find it on OddsShopper." All right, so let me show you guys here. We're going to go to OddsShopper.com. I'm glad you asked that because it's a little bit tricky. And when you go to OddsShopper, you go to Tails Insider Picks, right? And then when you click on that Tails Insider Picks, you can go to Find Insiders here, right? And when you go to Find Insiders, because your Uncle Weezy doesn't cap any other sports but the UFC, you have to go over here to MMA Boxing right there. And when you click there, you're going to scroll down. And for some reason, and I don't know why this is, OddsShopper has got a bunch of non-MMA cappers above the real MMA cappers, which are here. We got Narco Cop MMA is here. You got Dravi over here. And then you've got me over here. And then you got a bunch of other people that don't know dick about fucking boxing. And look at all these people. I've never heard of any of these fucking people. And they're all talking about MLB and NBA bets. So I don't understand why people don't see me, Narco Cop, and Dravi on the top of this page. That doesn't make any sense to me because none of these guys are MMA cappers. And if they are, I haven't fucking heard of them. So anyway, that's where you find me. So then you go down here to Uncle Weezy, MMA Boxing. That's it. That's all you're going to find from me. And that's where you find the $25 a month probability stats and content package. And when you go down here, there is your subscribe button. You can click right there, man. And thank you for asking that question. I appreciate you. All right. We got Landwehr, says DJ Serenity now. Lazy Bed saying it's Nate over here. DJ, maybe over there. HOH says, "To anyone know where in the chat know where it is?" Hopefully you're still here and you get to see that. And we got the 4-ounce sniper saying, "I was told to give my Uncle Weezy money now. So here you go. Good luck on the bets. Hashtag pipe it up. Hashtag milk 'em dry. Ring a ding ding." You guys, 4-ounce sniper with the $5 donation. Really appreciate you, my man. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. DJ Serenity now is saying, "God, I'm stupidly easy to amuse." We got my guy Rob Pagorni in the room saying, "Oi, what up, Unc? Let's go this weekend. Hit me up." Rob, I might be going down to see my brother this week in Indianapolis. I think there's some kind of a beer fest. I got to see if the guys that are going down there to visit him can pick me up on the way. We're going to see what's up, but I'll let you know if I don't wind up going down there. But I'm looking to go hang out with my brother in Indianapolis this weekend. We got Lazy Bed saying, "Sheesh, never thought of that. Lost a striking match to Moicano." It is true. And Gonzalo Jimenez saying, "Wonder Boy win." And that pro MMA record of 16, 110, and 0 can only be for one guy. The GOAT, JLS. Appreciate you. We got James Krause is in the room. Appreciate you, James. I hope that really is you hanging out here, but I got a feeling it isn't the real James Krause. But this James Krause is saying, "Wonder Boy was put in front choke positions against Burns, Shavkat, and Bilal. Bonfim should take him down round 1, bait Wonder Boy to stand up from bottom and wrap up a transition front choke. And his front chokes are phenomenal. And that's why I'm picking Bonfim by submission, because even though I don't have faith that Bonfim's wrestling is where it needs to be, that I can just think he's going to absolutely get Wonder Boy down and then create that kind of scramble where he can latch onto that guillotine or that darce. But if he does, I think that Wonder Boy is going to be in a ton of trouble, because he's got a phenomenal front choke series here. So, yeah, I agree with you there. And he's not a good wrestler, though, against Burns, Shavkat, and Bilal. All those guys are better wrestlers than what Bonfim is. But I think Bonfim might be just as dangerous of a submission grappler as Burns. So we'll see how it plays out. Wonder Boy defended Rachmanov takedown. Yeah, eventually he did. Rachmanov wound up getting him down, but he was stuffing a lot of them for sure. Yeah, Josh saying, bruh, every time Clint said Pinar, the look on your face was priceless, Weezy. Thanks for the hard work and laughs, my guy. Appreciate you for hanging out, Josh. I hope all is well, brother. We got Colby Saul saying, oi, let's go, Uncle Weezy. We got Dirty Reg in the room saying I need plus 500 on Thompson. I'm that low on him. That's all right, man. I mean, everybody's high on Bonfim, minus 450 right now on the money line. So, I mean, I get it. The guy is a phenomenal submission grappler, and that's always where Wonder Boy has been the weakest. So I think a lot of people are just assuming that Bonfim's going to have that grappling success there. Black Beast all day. I'm right there with you, Moise. Josh saying, I used to host karaoke shows oh, no way. That Lewis was a bouncer at, and I have actually seen him beat up 5 guys at once. They were drunk, but still. Katy, Texas, stand up. Oh, that's awesome, dude. Wow. Derek Lewis, a bouncer in Katy, Texas, beating up drunk karaoke singers. I would rather watch that than watch him beat up Taliesin Teixeira, and I'm not even joking about that. We got Mr. 25 saying, Weezy, are you going to the Chicago card? I don't have tickets yet because $800 for nosebleed seats is unacceptable, but I'm planning on going. I know that I'm hoping that Brady comes out here for it. I'm hoping that my guy Avery comes out here for it. Some local friends of mine are looking to go as well. But if we don't go, we're going to host a party somewhere and watch the fight there. Because, I mean, as much as I want to go to a UFC card, I'm not going to fucking pretend like paying $800 for nosebleed seats at the United Center would be a good idea when I can hang out with like 10 or 12 friends at somebody's place where we got drinks, we got entertainment, and we can watch the card and actually see what's going on. So, yeah, we're going to find out. But the plan is to absolutely to go. But the plan is not to spend $1,000 on tickets and parking and all that shit. Moy's saying Choto missed weight again. Yeah, back to 185 next time. It's 2 in a row for him now. And so because of that, I really think that he probably is – they're going to make him move back up to 185. We got Kraus saying, when you drop the stat, 5 and 10 in those fights, 4 of those 5 wins are by split. You sold me. Landwehr money line is definitely the play in that spot, especially if the fight does go to decision. You got to believe that the Nashville crowd is going to be cheering for everything that Nate does. And if that's happening, that can sway the judges, and the judges know that a post-fight win speech from Nate Landwehr is going to, be a lot more exciting than one from Charrière. So, yeah, man, we'll see how it goes. I might wind up just throwing a unit on Landwehr's money line. We'll see how it goes. Josh saying good ass shaving. Chidi looked like shit on the scale. Yeah, dude, he did. He looked like shit. Hopefully he rehydrates and fights at close to 100%. But, Matthews had a rough cut too, man. So maybe just play the fight doesn't go to decision there. Derek Lewis said it himself. If I'm losing, I'll use eye gouges since it's not a point to touch. I love it. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, ladies and gentlemen. Fatima washing Smelly Melly. Yep. MMA Short saying every underdog seems worth a sprinkle, in my opinion. I hear you, dude. Moy's saying Dirty Dez should have gotten the knockout versus Smelly Mel Martinez round 2. Dirty Dez. Oh, didn't even give it a 10-8? Really? Oh, you're talking about the fight in Combate back in 2019, Desiree Yanez. Yeah. She got, yeah, I mean, like that was, it's one of those things like you have to talk about the fight because it was only 3 fights ago. But then again, that fight took place in 2019. Melissa could be a much different fighter at this point. Yeah. Also, I remember from earlier this week, Weezy, about how does Chidi look on the scale? Sheesh, not good. He looked like he was about to cry. Definitely his last 170 cut. Well, 171 and a half cut. Yeah. And that's what I was saying on Dan Levy's show. I'm like, I like Chidi. I might bet him this week, but I can't do it until I see him on the scale. And then once I see him on the scale, I'll see where the betting line is and if I want to make a move. And it's still around minus 160, and he looked terrible. So I don't want to lay juice on him, but I still don't think that I don't get what people are seeing in Matthews either. So Elijah saying, let's cash, let's go. It's worth it, y'all. Yeah. The lighting could be better, says Dodgers fan 1. The lighting where? Rowdy Roddy saying, happy Friday, everyone. May we all remain and be free from corporate wage slavery. Man, do I agree with that. That's why I'm doing this. I actually tried to get be a wage slave for corporations, but they didn't want me. So I decided to slave away for myself and try to reap the benefits of all my hard work myself. Luca Suhashvili from Georgia saying, Weezy, what do you think of the Lewis Teixeira over 1.5 rounds at plus? Is that plus 160 or plus 260? Let me look here real quick. So if you go to my over-under betting model here, the over, and you're seeing the over 1.5 rounds, I'm showing plus, yeah, so you're getting probably plus 160. So here's what I would do, dude. If I'm looking to bet an over, I'm betting the fight starts round 2, if that bet is available to you, because Derek Lewis has been scheduled for 5 rounds 12 different times at the UFC level. 10 of those 12 UFC fights scheduled for 5 rounds for Lewis have started round 2, but only 6 of them have went over 1.5 rounds. So 4 of Derek Lewis's 12 fights finished in the first 2.5 minutes of round number 2, according to my over-under betting model. So that is something that I would rather pay the minus 124 juice and play the fight starts round 2, just based on the fact that Derek Lewis does get a lot of early second round finishes in his fights. We got Barry saying, hi, Weezy. What's up, Barry? We got Fromage Frog saying, we need Uncle Weezy merch, t-shirts, hats, and then the onesies for babies. Get them started on gambling early. That's what I've always said. I'm not a parent. I don't have any kids of my own, and this is not parenting advice. But, you know, this is a country, and I think you guys will all agree with me, where you got to start young in order to be great at something. You have to start young. You got to put your effort into it. You have to become an expert in it. And kids these days aren't taking enough of an interest in gambling. I'm just going to say it. I don't care that I'm not a parent. I don't care that I have no kids of my own. I don't care that I'm not in education. I don't care that I'm completely unqualified to talk about this subject, because I'm going to talk about it anyway. Start young. Give your kid that first bookie account 6, 7 years old. Let them learn what it feels like to lose. Let them learn what it feels like to win. Let them understand that just because they win a couple in a row doesn't mean that they're all of a sudden got it all figured out. They got to learn. So you start them young. All right. So maybe the onesies is actually the best merch idea there. You would have cashed. You would have definitely cashed on that one, Colby. Boxing and LFA tonight. Yay, that'll be nice. I'll watch some LFA tonight. Always Tilted saying, always got to throw an oi for Uncle Weezy. Lazy Bed saying the LFA card is a banger tonight. Nice. Dodgers fan saying Netflix of MMA of shit. Okay. Always Tilted saying Weezy's Discord isn't talked about enough either. Lots of great members with knowledge. Truly appreciate you, my man. We got, what time is it on Lazy? And the prelims at YT 5:30 Central, 6:30 Eastern. We got DJ Serenity now saying, got it, Lazy. Thanks. We got NFL Draft Pulse saying, awesome show, brother. Big money this week. Let's get it, my man. T.O. Phillips saying, any thoughts on Vinicius Lockdog Oliveira versus Kyler Phillips next week? So the only thought that I have right now is that there might be a nice little bargain on Kyler Phillips, because Kyler Phillips was a minus 600 favorite in his last fight against Rob Font. He lost that fight, and then now he goes to being from minus 600 to plus 140 versus Lockdog. So very, very interesting fight there. One of my favorite fights on the card, to be honest with you. We got Matthews also ducks his head a lot after throwing. I noticed that too, dude. And he's going to walk onto a knee if he does that against Cheaty. There is, I could see a big knee landing. Yeah, dude. And the thing is, he throws combinations to get into the pocket. That's what I like about Matthews. I think that's really good. But his check left hook is his best weapon, and Cheaty's going to be in the opposite stance. And like that check left hook works a lot better against guys in the same stance as you, because their jab hand isn't blocking the check left hook. So I think there's a lot of things here that I don't like stylistically for Matthews. You can't count on the guy to wrestle, so I don't think his grappling advantage really means anything. And I think people that think that he's going to be able to wrestle Chidi Njokuani, I don't think that that's true. I don't think he's going to be able to wrestle Chidi. Chidi's way bigger than him. Chidi's very difficult to take down and hold down. And Jake's a welterweight. People think that people are going to take down Chidi and rinse him on the map, but like they've seen him get rinsed by middleweights, not by welterweights. Damn, Unc with the shade. Maybe a little bit, but Alexander is saying he always misses weight here. Wish I could have bet on this. Yeah. Round Robin saying, can someone tell these idiots that gambling on Austin Lane is for degenerates? Even if you win, how could you be proud of that? NFL Draft Ball saying, I like Tokkos as a dog this week. Him and Lewis, my most confident dog picks. And he's saying, I could see Austin Lane face planting onto the canvas. I absolutely could too. And Sneak Attack Zach in the room saying, beat my ass and see what happens. A great Nate Landwehr quote there. J-Mo saying, let's go, Weezy. I should have been in earlier, but needed to be in the car. Appreciate the hard work, dude. I'm seeing 99 streaming, only 55 thumbs up. Click the button. Appreciate you, my man. Tukos is a plus 7.5 spot at best. Maybe. I don't know. We got Olajuwon Dream saying LOL. We got Tom saying, oi. Hey, Unc, where do you go to watch tape on fighters? Thanks for all the content week in and week out. So I've always went to MMA Play 365.com. They have a tape index there that I've been a member of for a long time. It's pretty cheap, $5 a month, and it's going to make me log in. But there's a tape study when you create an account here at MMA Play 365, which you can see right here. There is a tape. There's a tape index there that has all the fights that you can watch, the fights, the historical fights there for each fighter. We got Wonder Boy plus 5.5 looks okay to me. Yeah, I'm just worried that I don't want to play the handicaps because I kind of feel like if he does lose, it's probably going to be a submission. But I could also see a decision from Bonfim if he does get to dominant positions, but is unable to finish and wins minutes on top. Imagine if that was actually the real James. We got always tilted Zane. I still like Krause. Sucks, dude. Was a hell of a coach. Yeah, I like James too, man. I mean, I kind of feel like, what happened to James Krause is that a whole bunch of people who actually fucking fix fights for a living and get away with it every fucking time, they didn't like the fact that somebody was figuring out that, hey, we can fix fights ourselves. I mean, at the end of the day, there are fixed fights every fucking week. Sometimes the fixing is in the matchmaking where that you're sending somebody to their execution. Sometimes it comes with a referee who just won't stop a fight no matter how much trouble somebody is in. Sometimes it's just with 2 of the 3 judges getting a call before the fight starts saying if this fight winds up being somewhat close at all, you're picking fighter A or fighter B, or we're not going to fucking employ you for the next 6 months. So fights get fixed all the fucking time. James Krause was involved in a fixed fight. But the thing was, this is something I wasn't expecting. Kraus, Molina, they kept their fucking mouths shut, which means that they're smart. They let their lawyers talk for them. They didn't say a goddamn thing. And it turns out that the evidence wasn't really there. I mean, I don't know what the punishment was, but let me tell you something. If you got federal charges levied against you and you don't wind up behind bars, you're part of about a 4% club of the 100% that gets charged with federal charges. If you wind up in federal court, you're going to prison 96% of the time. And these are fixed courts, you know. The federal law code is something that they can write you up and jail you for shit that people do every single day. So, yeah, man, I'd like to see Kraus get back into coaching, but I think he probably got a lifetime ban. But the fact that they couldn't put him in prison for what he did shows that him and Molina were smart and they let their lawyers do the talking for them. Shout out Dr. Peener for sure. Good picks, Uncle Weezy, says Gonzalo. Jay Ellis is the GOAT. Hell yeah. Party at Weezy's house, says Olajuwon Dream. Hopefully for August, late August, UFC, what is it, 320 or whatever it is. But we'll see if I can get tickets to that. I've never been to a UFC card before because the UFC comes to Chicago about once every 4 years. And the last time that they came, I was in Florida. So I have never been to a UFC card before. Still looking to go to my first. Alex saying, Weezy, I know you were kind of liking Thompson. Bet Online just opened Thompson round 3 scorecard winner or finish at plus 160. I had a target of plus 150 for that line. Played it for a quarter unit, might double down. I don't mind that play because, we haven't seen third round, what's his name, Bonfim, I think only once, and against somebody that's really not, probably not, UFC level, or not dangerous in Angelusa. It probably voids to be, it probably does void if there is an early finish, but you never know. We need background bitches in bikinis on stream. Hello, 100,000 subs. It's a great idea. I'm writing that one down. Always Tilted saying 800 for nosebleeds is nuts. Yeah, I know, man. It's absolutely crazy. Marcus Williams, my guy, Nubian Bookstore in the house, saying he's enjoying the show. Love that you're watching, Marcus. I hope all is well, man. Gonzalo saying Landwehr is a punching bag. Yeah, he does get hit a lot. Truth Hurts saying great show this week with Dan from Half the Battle. Let's gut these heartless bookies. Let's go, man. We got Alex saying, I think he gets tagged up like always around 1 live bet Landwehr. Yeah. Don't diss Nate the Train, says Fromage Frog. He said he was going to stick his finger in the guy's butt next fight too. Yeah, he did say that. My guy, the Milkman, is in the room saying, get the milk. It's Derek Lewis fight week. Let's go. Gonzalo saying, I think Teixeira is better than Rodrigo Nascimento. Well, we'll find out. There's no evidence of that yet. He's never beaten somebody as good as Rodrigo Nascimento. So we'll see. Or the pipe, I shall say. Yeah, one or the other, I'm thinking. Truth Hurt saying, great breakdown from you guys and the other guys that have to battle this week, Unc. Let's gut them. Let's do it. Fight starts round 1 is a trifecta bet in the main event. It is. I still think that I don't know if I'd want to play it, but because you're still laying a little bit of juice, and it's a fucking Taliesin Teixeira fight. Quick question: who do you think Mike Davis's best win is? I mean, that's a really good question, man, and that's a fair question. Let's look and see who his UFC wins are against. Natan Levy, total Mason Jones. It's definitely Mason Jones, and even Borshov, Borshov was piecing him up in round 3, at the very end when Mike couldn't hold him down. He outlanded him 16-8 in significant strikes, and that was with being controlled for 3 of the 5 minutes of the round. So, if it weren't for the takedowns for Davis against Borshov, I think he would have probably got knocked out there. And then that Mason Jones fight was a great fight. But, guys, the Mason Jones fight was in 2021. That's 4.5 years ago that he fought that guy. So, I think Mason Jones is his best win, but Natan Levy's a total bum. Thomas Gifford's a total bum. He looked awful against Ziam. Man, I don't understand the line. Let's see. Olajuwon saying that extra 2.5 minutes makes me nervous as fuck. Yeah, it does. It should. Waves Lidden in the room saying, no way I'm taking a Frenchman over a guy from Tennessee. One of those quotes should be enshrined in history. What is your favorite online betting website? So I do Bet Online, I do Bet Rivers, I do DraftKings, and I do Caesars. Those are my 4 accounts. I should probably get a Circa account because Circa has really good VIG in their bets. I think they even charge less VIG than Bet Online in their money line. So I'd like to get a Circa account. What else? And then I'm going to start looking at the exchanges and stuff. I mean, if on January 1st those laws do pass, where American sites are going to charge you on losses, they're going to tax you on losses. I will pull all of my money out of the American books and just take it all offshore. I wasn't born yesterday. I'm not going to fucking pay. I'm not going to pay taxes on money I didn't make. So that's just something that's I'll never do. So these exchange betting websites now, I think, are places that if you go outside the U.S., you can find some really good ones now. Depends on, I don't know what it's going to look like when you try to get your money out, or, how you have to go from Bitcoin or do whatever. But still, this is a little bit troubling. Hopefully Diane Titus, or whatever her name is, gets that provision from the new bill scratched from it. Gabriel Killian in the room saying a lot of high school and college kids are gambling addicts, the DraftKings generation. Yep. Yeah, they are. In my day, we were weed, alcohol, and hard drug addicts. So I don't know which is worse, but college kids are always going to be addicted to something, whether it's trying to fuck, whether it's trying to get laid, whether it's fucking drinking, doing drugs. I was addicted to all of it, and probably still am addicted to all of it. Andy saying, afternoon, everyone. Alex saying, Ramirez round 3 winner scorecard or finish just open plus 650, like his money line. Had to play that too, boys. Might as well. Gabriel is probably negative 3.5 spot. Miles Davis is better than Mike Davis, says Moyes. Tend to agree with you, but Mike Davis is still alive. Milkman saying, anyone remember when Matthews was the next big thing? Pepperidge Farms remembers. Yep. UFC Fight Pass is shit these days, bro. Might have to get to that. The UFC Fight Pass, I think, is a great product. I mean, compared to ESPN Plus, it's so fucking good. But we'll see. Yes, they fix it via matchmaking and purposefully wrong lines. Yep. Round Robin saying, perfect, Uncle Weezy. Absolutely perfect. Remember Chase Hooper and Borshev? The referee definitely had the fight to end in submission. Anyone with common sense would have called it for the TKO. Dude, I had round 2-3 KO props for Chase Hooper there at huge numbers that didn't cash. And yeah, that was Keith Peterson. And he had, he even stopped the fight, even though it wasn't a submission. Slava didn't tap. So that was wild. We got, federal fucking prison, Weezy. That's right, man. Uncle Weezy says, my guy D. Spearman. We got Round Robin saying, my Russian man had a welt the size of his head bigger than Angelo's dingling from. We want picks, and the ref still wouldn't call the fight, and it was still too small. My guy Clint is in the room saying, oi! What is up, Clint? Good to see you hanging out in here. Good chopping up the fights with you earlier this week. We got Shady in the room saying, Uncle Weezy, let's go, man. We got Olajuwon saying, I kind of want to take a shot on over 1.5 rounds, Petrino Lane, but I don't know. It'll be a butt clencher. Yeah, it will, man, especially somebody like Lane who can't take a punch. But if he does grapple, then maybe that thing does go over. Immaculaton saying, I'd bet my house on Wonder Boy if him and Bonfim, if he was the same age as Bonfim. Still think he's too elusive for Bonfim. Yeah, man, I hear you. I'm late. You free fucks better pay Weezy. Also, these whippersnappers will make anything to smoke. 710 is oil upside down. Oh, okay. Is 420 not enough? Thanks for the 10 plus hours of content this week. Yeah, man, you're welcome. 2.5 hours on Stat Diggers. A couple hours on Clint's show. Couple hours on Half the Battle with Dan brings us up to like 6.5 hours. 4 hours on my channel makes over 10. And then we got an hour and a half of free content here for YouTube. So yeah, almost 12 hours this week. I've been on camera breaking down these fights mostly for free for you guys. So give your Uncle Weezy some money now. Join up on that probability stats and content package. Link is in the description of the video. And if you want to go there, here's how you do it. You go to Tails Insider Picks. You go to Find Insiders. You go to MMA Boxing. You scroll down through all these fake fucking cappers who don't cap MMA and boxing. And you go to Narco Cop. You go to Dravi over there. And you go to Uncle Weezy. I'm not even sharing my fucking screen. Come on. All right, so let's try it again. Find Insiders. MMA Boxing over there. Scroll down through all the fake cappers. You get to Narco Cop, real capper. You get to Dravi, real capper. And you bet on the guys that only say MMA Boxing. Now, I know Narco Cop does some other stuff too, but me and Dravi and Narco are the real MMA cappers in here. I don't know who all these other guys are. Why do they get to say that they're an MMA capper when they're not and then be above the real cappers? Like they said they wanted MMA cappers here and then they let other people pretend like they are. So I don't get that. But yeah, man, that's how you do it. You go to the Find Insiders, you click MMA Boxing, and then you scroll down here to Uncle Weezy. You click there, and then you can join up right there. Those are good books, but you forgot Bet365. Yeah, I should get a Bet365 account as well. DraftKings and Bet365 are great for UFC gamblers for the spread. Yes, indeed. Immaculaton saying, I'd bet my house on Wonderboy if he was still the same age. Exclusive Oro. Also, just watch Here Comes the Boom after seeing it when I was a child. Have you seen it? Because, man, this is so underrated. Why doesn't the IDC do more content like that? Classic movie. I remember that one. That was with Kevin James and former UFC champion Bas Rutten in that movie. That was a good one. Round Robin Sports Betting saying the new law you're talking about, I believe you're referring to the fact that you can only write off 90% of your losses against your wins, 90%. But yeah, that's what the law is, and it's actually illegal according to general accepted accounting principles to tax people on money that they did not make. Hi, Mark Water saying out here chopping wood, listening to my Unc laying the wood, baby. Oi, what's up, dude? Yeah, UFC. Do you guys know what's up with the rule changes? Are they implemented? If so, and what condition? I do not know. Grateful Dude saying, oh, yes, we got Love Fight Pass. So glad we don't have ESPN Plus in Canada. It sounds like a nightmare. Yeah, dude, you're really lucky you don't have that in Canada because it is fucking awful. NFL Draft Pulse saying, well, yeah, UFC Fight Pass better than ESPN Plus, but on UFC Fight Pass, so many recent fights have errors and you can't watch them. No, you can watch them if they didn't have that fucking contract with ESPN Plus. The only reason that you can't watch them is because ESPN Plus has a contract with the UFC saying that you can't show fights that are less than a year old because we want people to come to our website to watch them so we can inundate them with commercials. But the cool thing is that now there is a website where if you are taping fights and you don't want to go to a dog shit website like ESPN Plus to watch them, you can go to watchMMAfull.com. And then let's say like for next week, you want to search Kyler Phillips because you just type it up in the search bar there, hit enter, and bam, Rob Font versus Kyler Phillips, Pedro Munoz versus, and then you can watch it here on this website without getting inundated by commercials on a fucking site that you actually pay for. Can you imagine if Netflix interrupted your movie and made you watch commercials, and not only just watch commercials, but how about watching the same fucking commercial 17 times in a 1 hour time span? So thank God there are websites like this that allow us to be able to tape fights without having to go to a dog shit product like ESPN Plus. We got my guy The Hood Wolf is in the room. Muhammad Bruce Lee saying, what's up, Weezy? I just got caught up on probability. I like some of the same spots and the parlay. I'm glad we're on the same page there, man. We got Kalong in the room saying, no, I mean, like, over 1.5, I would never fucking play that. Under 1.5 rounds is one of my favorite bets of the week. I have a tracked 1.5 unit bet on the under 1.5 rounds because of Steve Garcia's fights don't last usually more than a minute when people are swinging full punches. So yeah, I don't like the over 1.5 for that fight. I think that if it happens, it's going to be a fluke. I just wish starts. Yeah, they don't have those. Yeah, and fight ends in KO sub split. Only things that they're missing. I just wish. Yeah, they don't tolerate sharps. A lot of websites don't. Yeah, you kill it, Mo. Yep, fuck ESPN Plus. Yeah, they don't even have access to a lot of these new fights. They don't. You can't even get like fights from this year, which UFC is contractually obligated not to show you, so that people would go to ESPN Plus to watch those, and then ESPN Plus doesn't even make them available. I mean, it's just, I feel like we could sue them. I think that their product is so fucking bad that people could actually sue them and they would probably win. Now, but that's not law advice, by the way. I am only versed in bird law, and I'm really not even as good as some of the bird lawyers that I know out there. So not legal advice. You're never going to get legal advice watching this, or parenting advice. But yeah, Olajuwon must suck. I've been using it for 6 months. Get on the Hate 365 options wagon. Genova saying, I used to work out at the same gym they filmed Here Comes the Boom at. I'll never forget how Mayhem Miller had a breakdown on Ariel Hawadi while still in character, green hair dye and all. Oh, that's awesome. We got Fight IQ picks saying, show me some love, Weezy. I made some picks. Good, man. Get those picks out there. Appreciate you. We got NFL Draft Plus saying, thanks a ton, Unc. Helps a ton, man. You got it, dude. JP Bays in the room saying, Weezy, what's up, JP? I hope all is well, brother. You in South Africa now? You in the States still training? What's up with JP Bays these days? We got Helder Stuari from Brazil coming in saying, I just want to say, oi, from Brazil. Please, Trump, don't tax us. How the hell could Trump tax you guys, man? What is he talking about taxing you? Oh, is it fucking tariff shit? Yeah, well, you won't get any political advice on this channel either because I don't know shit about it. But anyway, it's good to see my guy Helder hanging out in here, man. Fight IQ pick saying, what's the parlay? The Greasy 4-leg parlay this week is Fatima Klein versus Melissa Martinez. Fight doesn't go to decision. It's the over 1.5 rounds in the Mike Davis versus Mitch Ramirez fight. It is the junior Tafa money line at -175. And it is the fight doesn't go to decision for Kattar versus Garcia at -195. That comes out to +624 on DraftKings Sportsbook. And exclusive saying, damn, really, Genova? I would love to hear the story from that movie. Like people like Dean, Kevin, Joe Rogan, Bass. Dude, Bass claimed nearly stole the movie with all his different cardio yoga classes. ESPN Plus is a scam. A lot of these fights depend on takedowns and where certain fighters hold significant strike advantages. Thank you. There we go, you guys. We did it. I appreciate you all for hanging out. 259 of you live hanging out in here. I tell you to hit the thumbs up, but I don't get paid for that, so I don't really give a shit. If you like it, hit the thumbs up. But leave me a comment down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And then take a look at that $25 a month probability stats and content package on oddshopper.com. I promise you it's going to help make you a better UFC gambler in the long run, and it's going to give you access to a ton of information, and it's going to allow you to cheat off of me, your Uncle Weezy, a man with a statistics degree from the Harvard of the Midwest, Northern Illinois University. Go Huskies. You guys, let's stack cash tickets like flapjacks for UFC Nashville. Enjoy the fights. We will see you next week for UFC 319, which is going to be headlined by Dustin Poirier and Max Holloway. Have a great night, everybody. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week for UFC 319. Take care.